Greetings, everyone. I am Marianna, and I will be a host for this important live event. So we will start our special international discussion, Ukraine and the World, New Horizons of Cooperation in Education for the High-Tech Sphere. So we will speak about opportunities for cooperation between Ukrainian and international representatives of educational institutions, and this will be in our focus of our discussion. So let me introduce speakers. Anastasia Petrova, Strategic Partnerships and Grant Projects Coordinator, Beetroot Academy. Carissa Little, Associate Dean, Global and Online Education, School of Engineering and Executive Director, Stanford Center for Professional Development and Stanford Online. Alexander Romanko, and Jack Professor at the University of Toronto, co-founder of Canada's MITAX Internships Program for Ukraine. And Olesa Zaluska, Chief of PATI, USAID Competitive Economy Program in Ukraine. But let me give you some intro, some information. All we suffer of one event that happened on the morning of February 24 in Ukraine. So our life changed before and after. This war did the same with the all IT industry in Ukraine, but it seems not even in Ukraine. But let me say a few words about the situation in Ukraine. Despite 28% growth in the first quarter of 2022, the IT industry is suffering from turbulence. So now we can see that even before the war, the IT Association predicted an increase in the number of IT specialists in the industry, up to 300,000. They could have fulfilled even more orders from Western companies. According to recent research by Dow, after the beginning of the war, the number of vacancies decreased by 16%. So senior and middle specialists who have already received education are most often sought after. Many female IT specialists were forced to flee and now work for Ukrainian IT companies remotely as individual entrepreneurs, while striving to obtain the status of employed abroad, so as not to lose on their exchange rate difference. Many male representatives of IT industry are serving in the armed forces. And we can see they even more, they are subject to be mobilized to army defense. Accordingly, the number of staff in the industry as a whole is declining. According to the research by Dow, the same research, only 7% of vacancies are available for specialists with no experience or less than a year of experience. Basically, this is the next wave of specialists which probably can fulfill Ukrainian IT market. Globally, situation is different. For example, the education for human-centric recovery issued at the World Economic Forum in Davos this year. The largest and fastest growing investments around education have been in education technology or EdTech, which is projected to attract about 400,000 billion of capital globally by 2025. By other side, Euro supports Ukraine and Ukrainians, but there are other narratives too. For example, the Technical University of Eindhoven offers financial assistance to students with Ukrainian, Belarusian, or Russian dual citizenship who have been directly affected by the war in Ukraine. Ultimately, the European University Association has already suspended the memberships of 14 organizations from Russia and countries to support Ukraine. So the first question is to our speakers. In your opinion, in these conditions, what are the new horizons for Ukrainians in the field of IT education that can be opened, given that attention is now focused in Ukraine? So my first question is to Anastasia Petrova, please.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Mariana, for this introduction. I think it's very important also for the audience to get more in detail about the situation in IT and also in Ukraine. And I think and believe that IT is a huge horizon for Ukrainians right now, those especially that left their homes, both inside of being the internally displaced person as well as being replaced to another countries. Now that's a big question for people, where to find new jobs if they lost theirs, if they don't continue working remotely. And IT is a huge potential to reskill, and it offers lots of opportunities. So my answer to the question would be that actually I believe that's the first way for people that have an interest in IT sphere, as it offers tech and non-tech specializations. So basically anyone can find themselves in the sphere and reskill to find a new job abroad or inside of Ukraine. And that's why I think that now we are facing a big horizon of opportunities coming, and we need to adapt to the situation, of course, and create and monitor the market, the job market, the educational market, adapt the programs of education to the current needs of employers. That I think is also very important. That's why we are in Bitrut Academy. We work since 2014, educating people that actually started working with internally displaced person firstly, and since then we have grown to the academy that offers various specializations in IT sphere, and that's what I was saying before. The adaptation of the programs to the needs of employers is a very important. It's a very important point, I think. That's why we will continue doing that, educating Ukrainians that were affected by war. That's why we also started a tech education fund and giving scholarships to those that lost the job and have a will and opportunity to study and reskill into IT sphere. But also, secondly, in addition to that important need, of IT for Ukrainians right now, I also see a big need of connecting actually people that are searching for a job with IT companies, with employers. And this link should be done much in advance than after graduation from the programs, so we can create a smooth transition from the educational path to actually working. So that's also we in Bitrut Academy see as a current challenge, because now it's more critical than ever to start working right away and gain an economic security right away for you and your family. That's why our aim was also to create specific programs, work with IT companies, with donors, international organizations, to design programs so people can reskill to IT, start working and sustain themselves.
Do you have many switchers from another professions to IT in your university now?
Yes, and that was actually, that's a good question. And I think it's actually a lot of people, they currently reskill. And we had cases as, for example, teachers in high school, teachers in secondary schools in Ukraine, were, for example, math teachers. They wanted to reskill and be front-end developers, and we had such a student in our introduction to IT course. Actually, that was the entry course before choosing the specific specialization. So I think also we had taxi drivers, people from different industries were coming to IT when they had an interest to study.
Thank you very much. Alessa, the same question is to you. Do you see some opportunities, and maybe you have some programs to support Ukrainians to switch profession or something like that?
Thank you, Mariana, for your question. And we are preparing the new program in cooperation with the Ministry of Digital Transformation and one of the IT clusters of Ukraine, let's say the strongest IT cluster of Ukraine. I cannot name the program yet, since it's like at the final stage of preparation, but it's focused on reskilling more than 1,000 people to IT or like related to IT professions. And I believe that this is the let's say the focus that should be considered in not only in IT sector, but in other sectors as well, since the economy structure will change. And we do understand it as a program which is focused on different sectors. And I would suggest like to think broader, not just about IT, but also creative professions. So this is actually something that we are working on, and we believe that also the same approach should be at the university level. Before the war, we were mostly focused on entrepreneurship. So we are preparing a reskilling program in cooperation with the Ministry of Digital Transformation. And the aim of the program is to help more than 1,000 people to get new professions, mostly in IT, but we are also thinking about other programs, not only in IT sector, but in creative industries and other sectors.
Thank you very much. Additional question to you. If I mentioned before that the companies wanted to work with especially senior and middle level, what we will do with so much junior specialists on the market? For example, if you and the Truth Academy will prepare, for example, few thousand people for a few thousand IT specialists like junior level, how we will employ them?
Let's think about this. And this is an open question. I don't have the answer right now, but this is really a good thing to focus on as well. And we as a program open to consider and to hear actually your vision, market players' vision, how this transition or how this like demand in more skilled and absence of vacancies for less skilled could be matched. So let's think about it and frame new programs.
Okay, I think it should be the next our discussion. Next question to Carissa. Maybe from your point of view, point of Stanford Center of Professional Development, situation in IT education in Ukraine looks another way, or you can see some additional horizons which open it for us in this time, please.
Yeah, I mean, I love, so thank you for Mariana for having me here today. It's an honor to be here with all of you. I think I love Alessia's comments, because I think that as you have this massive extent of destruction in the Ukraine infrastructure, there will have to be a focus, right, on rebuilding of hospitals, housing, power plants, airports, factories, research facilities, universities. And I think there's a moment to think strategically about how you use resources, not just to rebuild, but to have a means to embrace new models. It's almost an opportunity, really, when you say digital transformation. You know, many other economies have to kind of tack on digital transformation on top of something that exists. And so I think there's an opportunity to use technology to kind of leapfrog in different industries, because you have, and it'll be a hard problem because you'll have to prioritize resources and prioritize where you do that. But when you think about upskilling and reskilling, in order to provide those services, think about things like telehealth, smart cities. I think that when I think about how you provide essential services. I heard President Zelensky point out that like telehealth, for example, will be a burning need to help address war trauma by providing essential psychological rehabilitative support. And I think that, you know, at Stanford, we use something called an innovation mindset and futuring. So I think Ukraine has this opportunity to not reconstruct the past, but to kind of forge a new future by adopting emerging technological solutions and applying them to both present and future needs. I think that that'll be hard, but I think that that is one of the horizons that I see. And then matching that with your education, where are you focusing your education, sort of doing that matchmaking, I think is really, can be a key horizon to focus on.
Thank you very much. And if you have some special programs for Ukrainian students or some conditions for them, maybe you propose some specialized programs. What about this?
Yeah, so Stanford has, I'm in the School of Engineering, and we have many programs available, and we've had supported Ukrainians through online education to help them start and continue learning in different kind of industries. Stanford has a focus on more advanced materials. So thinking about artificial intelligence, digital transformation, we have robust programs in innovation and entrepreneurship. One model that I wanted to share is when I think about higher education, that I think I saw the amount of universities that were devastated by the war. It's just kind of a staggering number. And I think Ukraine has an opportunity to partner with universities like Stanford and others, as well as, you know, entities like Beetroot, to maybe even rethink how you deliver education. And that might be a long-term thing. You might be able to kind of create a variety of programs where you have kind of on-ramping programs through Beetroot Academy, and then you have more advanced material from institutions like Stanford to kind of move people up. And you're going to want to do it really rapidly in order to serve the needs of the population and some of the challenges that you'll face. So I think that's one way that we can help. And we have many programs. So that could take a whole hour for me to walk through all of those. But, you know, everything from, you know, students, and we have Ukrainian students taking courses for credit at Stanford remotely. We also have professional and executive programs, a variety of shapes and sizes, as well as, you know, sort of introductory machine learning courses, things like that. So there are many ways that we can contribute in terms of course material.
Thank you very much. Alexander, the same question is to you about some maybe programs or some support of your university, and also about the new horizons, which maybe you can see in this situation in Ukraine.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you for having me, and thank you to all attendees of this panel discussion. It may be a bit cynical to say that, but the war brings opportunities as well for Ukrainians abroad, and we should take those opportunities as much as we can to help Ukraine to innovate and eventually to be able to deter Russian aggression in the future. So what we are doing in Canada, so one of the directions that we are actively pursuing are the research internships for Ukrainian undergraduate students, graduate students, and postdoctoral fellows at Canadian universities and Canadian companies. 2 weeks ago, we signed a new agreement with MITEX, which is a Canadian organization that is bringing connections between industry, academia, and government structures for 600 fully funded by the government of Canada research internships over the 3 years. So those internships are really, basically that's, we see those as a long-term partnerships in R&D, in research and development, between Ukrainian universities and National Academy of Sciences, Canadian universities and Canadian companies. So the goal is to do joint research, to collaborate on the research projects and to commercialize those, to really, and that's one of the ways to bring innovation forward not only in IT field, but in general, in science and engineering, in many other fields. And what we are hope to be building, long-term research collaborations that where commercialization happens not only in Canada, but in Ukraine as well. And that's definitely one way to bring innovation forward. We would like, of course, Ukrainians to apply for these internship programs. We'll have more information, and we hope to see Ukrainian students and postdoctoral fellows here in Canada working on really innovative ideas. That's one of the directions, but not the only one. So many Canadian universities, I'll talk about University of Toronto mostly because there I'm a adjunct professor. I'm also involved with a couple of universities in Ukraine. I'm a adjunct professor at Ukrainian Catholic University, at Kyiv School of Economics, and now at American University Kyiv as well. Mm-hmm. So universities in Canada, we opened a number of programs in Ukraine. So right now at the University of Toronto, we are hosting 29 students from Ukraine in the areas of computer science and artificial intelligence for their summer school. We're working with professors at UFT and with Vector Institute for Artificial Intelligence here in Toronto on the practical projects, mostly, of course, in the areas of AI, machine learning, data science, and computer science. Due to a donation from the Timurtei Foundation, we'll be hosting 200 students from the Kyiv Mohyla Academy at University of Toronto as well, not only IT major, but multiple majors. So we are, with Monk School for Political Science at the University of Toronto will be 30 Ukrainians coming from Kyiv School of Economics to study here as well. So what pretty much almost every Canadian university has done, they waived tuition for at least 1 year to Ukrainian students. And this can be an opportunity, especially we hope that female students who can work remotely for Ukrainian company can come and do their potentially professional master programs such as MBA or other programs that allow, especially if they can work remotely from Toronto or any other Canadian city, that would be beneficial. But of course, we don't want for it to become a brain drain. So we would like all Ukrainians that can do it safely to return to Ukraine, or if they decide to stay in Canada or any other country, to continue those collaborations, because that's really important, and that's what we will continue doing. And thank you for all your help and support from the Ukrainian side.
If I understood you right, you have online and live programs, right?
We have both in-person and remote programs, definitely.
Yes, thank you very much. And my next question, you already mentioned about the brain drain, because as I mentioned in my introduction, it is a difficult situation for Ukraine because many IT specialists moved abroad. It is female specialists, and for example, European Union can propose very good conditions for them in Ukraine, in European Union to work and to work for remotely for Ukrainian company, for other companies, and many opportunities. And the question is, how can Ukraine remain more attractive to Ukrainians in terms of receiving IT? To let our IT Ukrainian specialists be back to Ukraine, not to stay abroad and to work remotely, but be back. I understand that we should finish that war, we should win, and we should to recover our economy, etc. But I say that we should start thinking about this from now, because we need the time to prepare it. And what can be your suggestion, what we can do first?
Yeah, thank you for this question, because it's really, really important. And that's of course, the question without one clear answer. It's as difficult. Many countries have faced the same question, what can be done? So in my opinion, in these conditions, it's difficult to, of course, ask people to come back, because in many cases they lost their accommodation. So many of the buildings are damaged or destroyed. Infrastructure is destroyed. So that's why we have to, in my opinion, build potentially program supported by the government of Ukraine, different ministries, Ministry of Digital Transformation, Ministry of Education and Science, and so on, to really create conditions to attract people to come back, ask international companies to hire in Ukraine, ask to open offices when it's safe, of course, with appropriate risk management measures. But for those people who will not be able to come back, we'll need to try to engage those to stay connected with Ukraine, to bring projects to Ukraine, to bring collaborations to Ukraine, to send money to Ukraine, and to, as many volunteers are doing right now from different countries. Essentially, that's what we do from Canada as well, sourcing technical medicines, helmets, body armor, and stuff like that. And that's really a component of really a list of measures we can potentially learn from other countries, especially China, who were able to bring back most of their students. So if I'm not mistaken, these numbers, some 20 years ago, around 10 to 20% of Chinese students were coming back to China after finishing their undergraduate or graduate studies abroad. Now this number is up to 80%. Of course, China has some measures that one can do at the centralized level, like they can ask, they can order companies and universities to pay higher salaries for those who are coming back, which doesn't work in the market economy necessarily. But I would like to see a special government agency in Ukraine who will oversee all these efforts and bring really collaboration between the ministries, Ukrainian diaspora abroad, other institutions, universities, to really attract Ukrainians to come back. And one of the initiatives that we want with that regard, I am not sure it will happen, but we are lobbying and having conversations about opening a campus of University of Toronto in Ukraine. That's a dream, which will probably not necessarily become true. University of Toronto is in the top 20 universities worldwide, so to convince them to really have an office or a campus in Ukraine is difficult, but it will be very, very beneficial for the dual programs. Again, research collaborations and joint programs, so that Ukrainians can get Western recognized degrees without need to leave Ukraine and go abroad in the future. But that's really a complex question without a clear answer. So I hope that we can all collaborate on that in the future.
Thank you, and wish you to have success in building campus in Ukraine. Thank you very much for this idea too. Olesa, question for you. Maybe you and your company, your organization has some ideas about programs, maybe some other tools, how to build our prosper economy in that way to let people be back, or to work for Ukrainian economy, but remotely?
Mm-hmm. Like primarily we are focused on building, let's say, businesses, products, services in Ukraine. And for this, as you mentioned, we need a proper workforce. We need someone who is still in the country to reskill, refocus on the sectors, as was mentioned by our speaker from Stanford, focused on rebuilding. And others should be focused on creating products and services in deficit. We do understand that we should substitute import. We do understand that we should satisfy the gaps, the deficit of some products and services in the country. We should, at the end, switch from Russian made soft as one as accounting system, for example. And this is one of the programs that we want to support, switching from Russian made soft to Ukrainian soft. We want to help Ukrainian IT companies to build the proper features and proper software to substitute this. So I think that in it, like being open to some unpopular or let's say untraditional approaches is our way to find proper approaches right now. And we are going to launch several grants programs. We want to support those who are still in business to sustain their operations, to retain jobs, and we want to support those who want to create businesses. And it's not necessarily IT or tech or startups. We are talking about other traditional sectors as well, as furniture, light manufacturing, light machinery. And we do believe that we should focus more on light machinery, on electronics, and same in education. We were very focused on IT in recent, let's say, 5 or 8 years. And now having this huge damage in physical infrastructure, all these engineering professions become like even more needed, and maybe we should rethink a little bit and switch, and it's all connected. So we will roll out soon several grants programs. This is what we are preparing, and we will make a separate program for switching from 1S accounting system to Ukrainian actually one of the ways how to engage those, let's say, less skilled IT professionals to help businesses to switch from their, let's say, from Russian soft to Ukrainian soft.
Thank you very much. I think that the experience of Anastasia Petrova can be useful in this question too. For example, Betrut Academy is, let's say, school which prepare IT specialists, but maybe you have another plan for another specializations or for features or something like that. And you can also study remotely that Ukrainians who are abroad now and can be back after getting the education which is suitable for Ukrainian situation. What do you think?
Thanks for your question, Mariana. Definitely, and also that we can address this question and also contribute to helping and reducing the brain drain. And I think that in Betrut Academy, we also say that it's not only IT specializations, but we also call it more like a digital economy specializations, as being a project manager, being a marketing specialist doesn't only allow you to work in IT, but also in related professions. And that's why we also give people the support in their career, in our career counseling, in our support to get a job, not only in IT. So definitely, I think that right now, I also agree with Alisa that it's the horizon of jobs. It's very wide right now, and it's important to support people to gain various knowledge, and even some tech knowledge can help them to get into a job in some other sphere as well, which will be important, and in demand will be there, and as well as skills needed for the job to be done. And also the brain drain was always a question, I think, and an open question even before the war has started. And what I was thinking also when you raised the question, that actually it's very connected with people that went away, in case they, for example, they will gain some knowledge and they will study, they can also bring back the knowledge. And for example, some programs, after studying some programs at the University of Toronto or at Stanford, bring it back to Ukraine and build the businesses, or develop the businesses already existing in Ukraine. That would also make Ukraine more attractive to people, to return to. So I think it goes both ways, right? That we also help people to get education, but also people with gaining education can actually make our digital economy stronger, not only digital economy, but overall the economy stronger. So it's attractive for people to return and to find a job. So it goes both ways. So we need to not forget of both supporting businesses as, for example, a program of Olasia does, but also giving education as our speakers, Carissa, Alexander, programs help, as well as Beetroot Academy. So I think, yes, we are all working here on that.
Thank you. And how many remotely students do you have who study remotely, for example, from abroad now, and when they will finish the program, and maybe you speak with them and you know their plans, what plans they have?
It's a good question. Actually, all our education now is delivered online, which gave us an opportunity to also continue educating people that went away. Because before the pandemic, we had offline locations all around Ukraine, but during the pandemic, we needed to adjust to the situation and moved all education to online, also involving teachers from various regions. That gave an opportunity to access different areas. So we were also targeting giving education to students from regions, not from main IT hubs. So right now it's more than ever actually relevant. So we can give education for people that moved away from Ukraine or inside of Ukraine. So some of our students, they are abroad, connecting to classes, studying from abroad. I don't have a specific number right now because the situation changes all the time and people like return or go away, but we have quite a number of people connecting from different countries. And I even met our student at the conference in Sweden. I attended the conference Women in IT, and actually the girl that attended the conference, she studied HR in our academy, and she was mentioning that she would love to go back to Ukraine when it's over. So that's an example to answer your question.
Thank you very much. And my question is to Carissa, please. I know that the Stanford is very known international university, which attracts many IT, let's say, enthusiasts. And I think that USA and Stanford is interested to have very talented IT specialists on the board. So what about your ideas, if you think about this, how to not let, but how to create some ways for Ukrainian IT specialists, for Ukrainian IT students in university to work for Ukrainian company or for international company which based in Ukraine, to, let's say, work for Ukraine after your education?
Yeah, I want to come back to something that a couple of the other speakers mentioned, which is, I think this three-way partnership with government, grants, education, and industry will be really key. So the idea, and we've done work at Stanford in different geographies where there's some burning need around economic development. And the way to create sustained success to attract individuals back is to use education programs as an incentive, right? So thinking about, and as a recruiting tool. So if you do XYZ program, you will be a candidate, or you may have a job in a particular industry or company, and that will be that the grant to do the education component is provided by the government, and it's something you have, so that's one example that I think is really effective. The other thing is to just create some excitement around it. It sounds very silly, but some excitement around being, the rebuilding that will happen. So we at Stanford do a lot of programs in innovation and entrepreneurship mindset, which I think creating some opportunities for convening and just bringing folks together in country at a time when it's safe to do so, where you have students and industry and government all kind of collaborating to do a convening can create some excitement around what might come in the future. And I know it's early to say that, but I think you mentioned the idea that we want to be planning ahead for what the future will look like. And I think that, if you do have a focus on digital transformation and using technology to leapfrog, you can create some kind of, hey, here's where we're headed as a country, and create convening around that to get all of the parties together. So that's one thought that I have. The other thought that I have, just coming back to the idea, and I think Beetroot Academy did this, right? You flipped to being a completely virtual online university. How can you pair those virtual models with something that is hybrid, right? So you have virtual now, but maybe there's a component of different education programs, as my colleague from Toronto mentioned, building a campus in Ukraine could be a component where there's local contextualization. So you can accelerate education by leveraging online materials from many institutions, but then having a component that is in country, that is a capstone experience that brings people back to Ukraine. So those are some ideas, and we at Stanford have done various versions of these types of models. So I think that those are my comments.
Thank you very much. And let's move to my last one question. And this question will not about education, let's say. It will be about business, because we create our industry, Ukrainian IT industry now too. And our plan was to create also 300,000 IT specialists. And as I mentioned before in my intro, that the companies would like to work with senior and middle level specialists. And now we can see that the system was broken, and now we have to not only create the specialists with IT hard skills, but also specialists with business skills. So we need to prepare also project managers, program managers, etc. And in this situation, how you think the situation in Ukraine IT industry can be changed? Because if we will create that part of specialists with some project management and the program management skills, it means that we will not find them in middle and senior specialist level, which contributes the IT products. So maybe you have some solution in your university. Clarissa, is a question to you too. In your university, how to not lose the hard skills of IT specialists and prepare another, let's say, group of specialists for IT industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I want to come to something that we have worked on in the last several years. So across many industries, so IT, but different engineering fields, and in business, we worked on a kind of a framework of what is it that new, what are the needs, the critical domains that businesses and industry needs in their people? And this is at all levels. And as you move up, you think in an organization, these become more advanced. So the things that we identified are an innovation mindset and skill set. And when we say innovation, we mean entrepreneurship as well, sort of creating curiosity. Stanford has a lot of programs in this sphere. You need to understand technology frontiers and their impact on businesses. So how do you design and apply technology? And that, again, that traverses many industries. You need to have some acumen in that area in order to be effective as a middle manager, as a product manager, as a project manager. You need to understand the influences of like AI, for example, on your business. So that's...
So it should be also our government program, right? If I understand you right. Cooperation with government to create, to understand the industry and the changes and prosper changes to,
absolutely,
and to support it. Okay, so let me pass a question to Olesa. You said that you cooperate with the Ministry of Digital Transformation on some programs. Maybe you have such program too to investigate what is happening in IT industry or in business in full understanding, and which employees, which specialists, with which skills do we need in Ukraine in nearest future? Olesa? I think that we lost Olesa. Olesa, do you hear me? You are on mute. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now yes.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, Mariana, that we should also, let's say, dig deeper and research the current state and maybe even modeling, make some modeling of.
Yes.
And this research is ongoing currently, again, in cooperation with the Ministry of Digital Transformation and with the Lviv IT cluster. So let's wait for results, and we will see the let's say, evidence-based information and conclusions. But I wanted to add on your question about having this balance between, let's say, IT specializations and other specializations. And I think that we should be focused on business, as Carissa mentioned, since we may observe switchers, not one-time switchers, but several time switchers, since they may switch from IT then to product, and from product to project, and then it could be several times. And focusing on business and on commercial side of business and scaling those businesses locally and globally, we may help the market to grow and to balance the demand. So my advice to all of us will be focusing on business development overall.
Thank you very much. I am writing down that we have several topics for discussion additionally, maybe this year or another year, because very interesting programs and ideas. My company cooperates with the Ministry of Digital Transformation too. So I think that we also will cooperate together in that field. So, and let me ask the same question to Alexander, because you mentioned that you have internship program for Ukraine. So maybe your internship program also means to prepare specialists for business in Ukraine, not only in IT. If yes, could you please tell us about this?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mariana. It's a great question. And I would like to build on what Carissa and Olesa already said. We're actually doing research on this topic. In the past, I was a founding director of the Master of Business and Management in Artificial Intelligence program at Kyiv School of Economics, where we actually build the curriculum, the structure of the courses based on the industry demand. So what we did a machine learning project, basically looking at the online job postings and which skills are required for those job postings. And based on those skills that are in demand by the market from these online job postings, we build the curricula of the courses. So which skills we should teach in which course in order to be successful on the job market. And one of the success criteria was the salary in our case. So essentially what you should learn and how you should learn to have a high salary. And we're continuing this research, and we're actually incorporating it in in structuring the programs at American University Kyiv as well, and here at the University of Toronto. And as you mentioned, that's definitely the way to go. So the combination of the hard skills and the combination of the soft skills really bring the value both to the company and to, of course, the person itself. And my probably final word would be for Ukrainian companies. I think it's a great opportunity to concentrate on the R&D collaborations with universities and companies abroad, and especially for the Ukrainian outsourcing companies that try to do it before the war. Now it's an opportunity to really start building products and services based on R&D and start building long-term collaborations. People are willing to listen, people are willing to collaborate worldwide, and let's use these opportunities both for education, for business, and for really success of each particular individual, and as a result, success of the whole country of Ukraine.
Are you ready to be like a mediator between the business and the IT education, for example, abroad for University of Toronto and the American University?
Yes, I'm already doing that, and I am definitely continuing doing that. So that's my volunteering effort since 2014, since the Revolution of Dignity, and the war accelerated those efforts. So anytime.
Thank you very much. I downwrite it in my list of discussion and what to do. Okay, and please, Anastasia, maybe you want to add something, because already you mentioned that the Beetroot Academy prepare students for not only IT but for business too. But maybe you have your own researches or some knowledge which you can share with us about how to keep that balance between IT specialists and between specialists who serve, let's say, business and especially IT industry.
Thanks for your question. And I also agree with all the other speakers that we also talk here about business and IT specializations that are not only tech. So if we say IT education is not only educating a front-end developer, but also a project manager, a marketing specialist, with a wide range of professions. And also wanted to add on that also entrepreneurship is an interesting asset. The mindset, training this mindset is also an important part of keeping this balance as well, and adding on, because sometimes like to get a profession, to get like your way, your career, you need maybe several educations. You need to do several steps in your career to find out what you like the most. So it can be from tech to non-tech. So here I don't know where the balance is. Actually, I think that's most important to support all tracks of education, so people we can equip people with knowledge, and then they can use it for themselves and for the economy as well. But for entrepreneurship, as for me, it's very interesting asset that is useful for everyone. And we also have an entrepreneurship course which we were delivering for quite a while. And also offline, we had a Mariupol hub in the city of Mariupol. And also we were focused during the recent years to support Eastern Ukraine with equipping people with entrepreneurship skills so they can build their own businesses there. So I really hope that we can continue working on that sphere further on and think of the new ways how we can also help businesses and people to actually create new ones and develop their own.
Thank you very much. Very influencing things you said, and thank you for what you are doing. And also, guys, our time is off, so I thank you all for the interesting discussion. And as I can see that our IT industry is moving forward despite of circumstances. So I hope all of us to have success what we do. And let's keep contact and let's keep together to work for Ukraine and for Ukrainian IT industry also. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.